What's up, guys? This is Housecat MMA, and today I'm going to be going over my predictions for UFC Fight Night. Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown. First up, we got Jackson McVeigh versus Zachary Reese. Both these guys are taller than average for the middleweight division. Then they both fight pretty similar. Jackson McVeigh is coming off a loss to Bruno Ferreira. No shame in that. Ferreira's a killer. Zachary Reese has a TKO loss to Cody Brundage, and I drew the conclusion that Jackson McVeigh is a good bit more physically strong than Reese. So I'm going to go Jackson McVeigh first round TKO because Zachary Reese does have a TKO loss to Cody Brundage. And if you're in the UFC, you don't have any business being TKO'd by Cody Brundage. So Jackson McVeigh, first round TKO. Next up, we got Tisha Pennington versus Denise Gomez. Tisha is a quarterfinalist for season 20 of The Ultimate Fighter. So she's been around for about 11 years. She doesn't get finished. All of her losses are by decision. She is prone to being taken down, and Denise Gomez does like to take people down. And Gomez has a win over Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Decent win. So I'm going to go Pennington 29-28 decision because I see Gomez controlling her a little bit in the first round, and then I see Pennington kind of getting her timing right and stuffing her shots in the second and third. So Tisha Pennington 29-28 decision. Next up, we got Miles Johns versus Daniel Marcos. Miles Johns puts me in the mind of a mini Yoel Romero without the wrestling credentials. He's a big, strong, athletic bantamweight. He's good at everything, not great at any one thing, which is not a bad way to be. Not a good way to be, but not a bad way either. Daniel Marcos is very much a striker who lacks a lot of wrestling, but I do think he learned from his Montel Jackson fight, and I think he's going to put some things together against Miles Johns. I don't think he'll finish Miles Johns, but I do see him picking them apart for 15 minutes. Daniel Marcos, unanimous decision. Next up, we got Josh Hokett versus Max Jimenez. Hokett is a former NFL practice squad guy. He was on the practice squad with the 49ers, and he had something to do with the Cardinals for a little bit, so athletic guy. Watching him fight, he looks like he did some wrestling in high school. I'm not sure, though. I couldn't find anything on that. He kind of reminds me of a cross between Brendan Schaub and Dylan Fairchild. And Max is very much a jiu-jitsu guy, but I think Hokett's just a little bit too athletic for him, and I see Hokett winning a decision because I do think Max is solid, and I don't think Hokett will finish him, but I do see Hokett getting a 30-27 decision. Just wrestling, I think Hokett, he seems pretty savvy. I don't think he'll get submitted. He might, but I don't think he will. I see him getting a pretty cool little win. And then we got Mayra Bueno Silva versus Jacqueline Cavalcante. Silva has been around for a minute. She has losses to Raquel Pennington, Jasmine Javicius, and Macy Chiasson. And she has a win over Holly Holm. Cavalcante's 4-0 in the UFC. She's a lot longer than Silva. I see, and I think she's a little bit more athletic than Silva. I see her not necessarily picking her apart for 3 rounds, but keeping her at bay for 3 rounds and getting a decision win. Because though Silva is solid and experienced, something tells me that it's Cavalcante's time. Next up, we got Ricky Simone versus Rayoni Barcelos. Ricky Simone has wins over Merab Dvalishvili. I don't think people forget about that, but it is a fact that he has a win over Merab. And he has a win over Ronnie Yahya, who's a guy who doesn't get spoken of enough, and Rafaela Sunsao. And all of his losses, most of them, are against top 10 guys. Couple of them are not, but most of them are. And he's pretty good. He's got knockout power. And Raoni Barcelos kind of reminds me of like a mini Gregory Rodriguez. He's got pretty good grappling and he's got okay striking. But I think Simone gets it done, and I think he knocks him out because I don't have time for Barcelos. I mean, he beat my boy Cody Garbrandt, and if he beat my boy Cody Garbrandt, I'm rooting against you for the rest of your career, unless your name's T.J. Dillashaw. I was very torn when they fought. I was a fan of both those guys. And next up, we got. Hyder Emil versus Jamal Emers. Jamal Emers had a pretty good career outside the UFC, going 17-4, and he does have a win against Corey Sandhagen. Hyder Emil was a undefeated prospect at one point. He's coming off of a loss to Jose Miguel Delgado. There's no shame in that. Delgado's a killer. Emers is 4-4 in the UFC. Emil is just coming off of a loss that when he got knocked out in 26 seconds. So I am inclined to say that Emil is going to get it done. I think he is going to do some cool shit in the UFC. I just think he had a tough out in his last fight. Next up, we got Christian Leroy Duncan versus Marco Tulio. Christian Leroy Duncan, not to be confused with Matthew Clark Duncan, is a pretty good striker, very aggressive. He's not lost on the ground, but that is his weakness if he does have one. And Marco Tulio is good everywhere. So I see it being a pretty good scrap on the feet. This was a tough one to call, but I'm probably going to go Tulio by third round submission. I see him being able to take it to the ground and submitting the boy, Christian Leroy Duncan. Next up, we got Chris Padilla versus Israel Bonfim. Padilla is a very strong guy, and he likes to take the fight to the ground. Bonfim is good everywhere. He has wins over Vince Michelle and Terrence McKinney. Both are pretty good wins. But I think I'm going to go with Padilla. I think he's going to get it done. I think he's going to get a decision win, probably a 29-28. I think it'd be a pretty good fight, though, but I see Padilla being able to bustle him around a little bit. Now we got Muslim Salikov versus Uros Medic. Salikov has been around since 2017. He's 10-4 in the UFC, which is pretty good. He has a win against Santino Ponzinibbio. He'll also kick your head off your shoulders. He's a very strong guy in the clinch. And I see him being able to muscle Medic around. I see them being pretty even on the feet, though I do think Salikov is a little more dynamic on the feet. But I see Salikov getting a decision win on that one. He's 41 years old, and I think he's got about 2 years left in the tank. So Salikov, unanimous decision, probably a 30-27. Now we got Matt Schnell versus Joseph Morales. Okay, so Morales just won season 33 of The Ultimate Fighter, the most recent season. He's been in there with Deepson Figueiredo. He is pretty good on the feet, but on the ground is his wheelhouse. He's a pretty good submission artist. I was impressed with him on The Ultimate Fighter. Matt Schnell might be my favorite flyweight. simply because he was on a reality television show on MTV about amateur fighters in Louisiana, and I think he was like 19 at the time, and he just seemed like a good guy and pretty good fighter. He lacks a lot of durability, so I actually think that Morales will get him out of there round one knockout. Because Chanel, he kind of likes getting knocked out. And of course, we got Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown. Gabriel Bonfim is coming off of a loss to Stephen Thompson, even though he won. That was a bad decision. And I think he's better than his record lets on. And Randy Brown has been in the UFC since 2016. He's 14-6 in the UFC. He's got wins over Alex Cowboy Oliveira, Warley Alves rather, sorry. And he just got done sleeping Nicholas Dalby. And I see him being able to get a finish against Bonfim, probably in the later rounds, maybe the fourth round, a fourth round TKO or something of the like. And I wouldn't be surprised if he taps him. I think Randy is going to have a pretty good performance in this main event scrap. But this is House Cat MMA. Those are my predictions. I'll catch y'all tomorrow for the recap.